I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call to order the Wickliffe City Council meeting of March 10th, 2025. Sandy, please call the roll.
Della.
Here.
Gerhardstein.
Here.
Jaworski.
Here.
Koski. Here. Levon.
Here.
Saloto. Here. Thielman.
Here.
Approval of council minutes. Councilman Gerhardstein.
I make a motion that Council President Levon abstain from the minutes of the reading of the minutes from February 24th, 2025.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilman Thielman, to allow Council President Levon to abstain from voting on the council meeting minutes of February 24th, 2025. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Della.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski. Yes. Levon.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes. Thielman.
Yes.
I make a motion we approve the council minutes from February 24th, 2025.
Moved by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto, that the council meeting minutes of February 24th, 2025 be approved as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Della.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski. Yes. Levon.
Abstain.
Saloto. Yes. Thielman.
Yes.
Okay, reports and communications from the Mayor, Safety Director.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Wickliffe State of the City will be held Tuesday, April 15th at the Community Center beginning at 6:30. Superintendent Spezia will offer a State of Wickliffe Schools following the city's presentation that night. Please mark your calendar to join us that evening. The Western Lake County Chamber of Commerce is holding their State of the City's breakfast on Wednesday. Myself, along with 5 other Western Lake County mayors, will give a short presentation of everything in the status of our cities to those in attendance. A little bit on the beautification. We're doing some painting at the community center, updating the look from the bland yellow to an updated color, breath of fresh air with some possible laminate accent. Kind of excited for that. Couple weeks, it should be all completed. And then a premiere update. So the old ABB building, they are continuing to remove asbestos, and the demolition of the upper building on Euclid Avenue by the end of April, beginning of May, and it'll approximately take a month to 2 months. But for the lower building, I got the call from the president of Premier today. The plan is, so that's 3-story building, they're either doing one of 2 things. They're either demoing that whole building, or they're gonna take down 2 floors. There's 100,000 square foot of office space they do not need in that second building. One of the possibilities is take 2 floors down and make it a 1-story building, or the whole thing's coming down. So he'll update me, I'll update everybody, but for the plans for the ultimate goal is to build a spec building at front and then to have a buyer for the whole campus. So they're working hard to come up with a possible solution to everything. So that's all I have.
Councilman Jaworski.
Mr. Mayor, that's not the warehouse that you're referring to, with that kind of intermediate building?
No, it's that back lower building on Warden. They have a significant amount of office space there
Okay.
on the 2nd and 3rd floor. That's the building.
Okay.
Councilwoman Saloto.
So wouldn't it be really odd to take the 2 top buildings off? I wouldn't think that would even be cost effective.
Me and Sandy were discussing this today. Yeah, I don't know how they would begin to do
So
that,
they
but
just want the warehouse part left.
yes, but they want it to be 1 story or just start from scratch.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Any further questions or comments for the Mayor, Safety Director? Thank you, Mayor. Reports and communications for the Director of Law.
Nothing to report, Council President.
Any questions or comments for the Law Director? Thank you, Jeremy. Communications from Council President, I have none. Any amendments or additions to the agenda? Councilman Thielman.
Yeah, under old business, I'd just like to place ordinance 2025-04.
Okay, with ordinance 2025-04 on old business A. Any other amendments or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, move on to the administrators. Police Chief Bush.
Thank you, Council President Levon. I have a couple things fortunate, with this last testing process, we were able to hire one candidate right now. His name is Ryan Krempa. He's going to be sworn in at the next council meeting. He does have a police academy. He is a graduate of the Tri-C Police Academy. So he'll be starting the next day, or plan on March 25th for him to start. And then the other officer has been deployed. I believe actually he's still in the States. I think he's in Texas, but he'll be going to Kuwait then for the remainder of the year. So we'll be short that officer as well then. That's all I have.
Any questions or comments for the police chief? Thank you, Chief. Fire Chief Grossman.
Thank you, Council President Levon. I do not have anything to add to my submitted report.
Any questions or comments for the fire chief? Councilman Jaworski.
Chief, with the incident, the fire down at Green Vision again, I mean, how concerning is that? That's a couple fires in a very relatively short amount of time.
We feel the second fire was more than likely just a rekindle over a delay from the first fire. Part of putting out the fire is burying it, soaking it with water, and then processing the material. So they were quick to have personnel there to immediately start processing the material with the first and the second fire. So I'm hoping that we're beyond that and we won't have any more incidents down there.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments for the fire chief? Thank you, Chief. Finance Director Hunter.
Thank you, Council President. February is now closed and the general fund carryover balance is about $6.6 million. The drop is due to payment of a net profit tax refund. I would also just like to point out that the 2025 annual budget has been revised. That has been revised to include funds for the old school landing project. The net effect to the budget is $0.
Any questions or comments for the Finance Director? Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Engineer Formica.
Thank you, Council President. One thing to add to my written report, the dredging part of the golf course pond dredge project is complete. All the material has been removed. Contractor's working on restoring the cart path so that we could resume play or begin play for the summer. The contractor will have to come back once that material solidifies over the summer, dries out. They'll be able to come back and push it and get it in a better place. Plus they have some grading to do around the pond, so it's moving forward.
Awesome. Councilman Bell.
Little ruts.
Yeah.
Will the contractor take care of those, or?
I haven't gotten with him on that. We'll either take care of that in the house, depending on how what the magnitude of it is, or if he has to come in and do it, I'm sure he'll.
That wasn't bad, but I noticed
Okay.
it wasn't for like a plow, it
Yeah,
had to be a wheel or something, so.
yeah, that parking lot wasn't in the greatest of shape to begin with, so we can't really, but we'll do what we can and they'll work with us, I'm sure.
Okay, great,
Thanks.
Councilwoman Koski.
So did they reinforce the bank of the pond at all? Because I know that had been like slipping. into the-
Eroding. That, we didn't really have that in the project, we just had it tapered. And actually, that's one of the things they need to come back and do is finish that taper to make it less of a steep, yes. They're coming back to do that.
So when is the water gonna be, when is it gonna get filled again?
Oh, we just have to shut the valve, it'll fill in a couple days.
Okay.
Councilman Hartstein.
Pete, when the budget is on second reading tonight, so next time we come, it'll be third. How much engineering approval do you need? Are you going to notify council for the necessary engineering approval you need for Euclid Avenue and for Cary Lane?
Yes, that's in my report, but if we can authorize that maybe after passage of the budget, I apologize, I was on vacation last week, but I did watch the meeting and I heard the discussion on it. At the end of the next meeting when things pass, if it's possible to authorize me to move forward, that would be great. I'll have my surveyors out there, especially Euclid Avenue. There's gonna be a lot of survey needed for that ODOT project.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilman Thielman.
Yeah, Pete, I know Congressman Joyce's office sent out the memo regarding
Yes.
congressional direct spending or community project funding. They change the name every year. But we were successful with 84
And
and Euclid Avenue. Is there any plans to submit something
I've been
this round?
discussing that with my colleagues
Okay,
and
great.
whatnot, and trying to come up with something. Honestly, we were trying to, I was thinking if there was a way that we could get reimbursed for our fees that we have to pay the county for State Route 2.
Right,
And if we could apply for that, but I got shot down.
okay.
Because it's maintenance and they're not gonna wanna pay for
Well,
it.
just based on your past success, I
Yes.
would hope maybe we did.
We're
back
still
in
trying to
that.
come up with something, and if anyone has any ideas,
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Any further questions or comments for the city engineer? Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Service Director Kravchuk.
Thank you, Council President Levon. I have nothing to add in my written report.
Any questions or comments for the Service Director? Councilman Gerhardstein.
Dave, I seen the county had a guardrail company out on Route 2 repairing the guardrail out towards Painesville. Do they have any set time where they may be coming in to fix the ramp at State Route 2 in front of Lubrizol? The guardrail? That's the county's responsibility to fix that,
Yeah,
right?
that is their responsibility. They also have a couple of fences they gotta fix too that are in the city. There was a female that left, that she was on top of all of that, and there's a new guy there now. So I'm gonna get a hold of him. I had a meeting with all the service directors last week, and they told me who this guy was, so I'll get a hold of him sometime this week and just try to
All
get
right.
that going.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mayor?
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, I'm also making a call, so I will elaborate on those things, but about the trash and by Lloyd Road underneath the freeway bridges, they take care of that as well.
Yeah.
And they have been slacking big time, so that's another thing.
I've got one more. And then also, I know the weather was bad for the water department during the winter when we had our water main breaks. But there's plenty of roads that have been tore up over the winter. When is Lake County Water start repairing the city roads now that the weather's starting to turn?
They'll start shortly. I have a good relationship with the guy that does all that, so I can kinda get them on track of that. There's actually some of them they haven't even done from last year still. They haven't cut, but they still haven't even, put them into, concrete or any kind of asphalt, so.
Yeah, the asphalt plant's aren't even open yet, right? They won't be open to end of April usually.
No, April 1st is last year, April 1st.
The reason
That
I'm
guy actually
asking-
called me in the middle of March last year.
The reason I'm asking, there were some on Talmadge that were even from last year that weren't even repaired last year, and they went all winter. I mean, obviously, I understand they couldn't be fixed in the winter, but they were from last year that were never repaired. And so I wanna make sure that, so the people on Talmadge don't have to go another year without the road.
Myself
being-
and the assistant, I actually told him to drive around, make sure you have every single one of these things marked this time so that they can get ahead of it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilwoman Saloto?
Yes, I don't know if you can make a call about this, but recently I've gotten several calls. I live south on Rockefeller, but several calls from neighbors about what's been happening with the garbage. I mean, like Kimball comes, it's everywhere. They just leave garbage everywhere. And literally, you spend like Monday, late afternoon, like picking up all the garbage. You can fill a garbage bag full on Rockefeller. So I don't know if that's happening anywhere else in the city.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah, so I don't know if we can have a discussion about that because we're paying them to have, a tidy pickup and it's a big mess all of a sudden.
It's understandable. We get phone calls all day long about it.
Yeah, but I've noticed a real change. It's been bad. I've noticed how much worse it's gotten.
Sometimes we get the excuse it's the drivers, you have the good ones, you have the bad ones. You know what I mean? That's the excuse we get, but we definitely have to come up with
We're paying them the same
a.
amount of money
Yeah,
to
we
pick up
definitely
our
have to come up
garbage,
with a plan though for them because we spent
Yeah,
majority of this afternoon picking up in the center section a lot of garbage today.
yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know, maybe we can make a call about that.
Councilman Jaworski?
Dave, I recall I don't know if it was maybe 2-3 years ago, Lake County Water had far too many holes to patch, if you will, and they allowed the city to go out, do it, and then be reimbursed by them. If that's an option, maybe that's something that we could somehow either do in-house or integrate within the road program as well, if they would be willing to reimburse. that gets things done.
Yeah, I don't see a problem if we have, if we have the manpower and they'll do it, for sure. Try to work something out.
Mayor?
Yeah, Maria, if you have any, if calls, or if anybody for that matter, on certain streets, let me know the list of streets names so I could call the operations manager and give him some lists, because that's the first thing he's gonna want. I try to drive through as many streets to see if there's any issues. Kinda down on the north end, it's been okay, but I know on the south end,
Rockefeller's a mess.
it's
All
bad
over
after the
Rockefeller.
windstorms too, but still, there's a lot left behind. So, yeah, if anybody and can email me those streets so I can give examples to them.
Councilman Bella?
Yeah, with the break in the weather, you're probably talking about baseball, softball, how we looking there? I know it's only been a day, it's been nice, but it's gonna be happening soon.
We're actually gonna try to work on the field tomorrow. Colby 1 and Ginger 2. They wanna try to scrimmage this week, so we're gonna try to get on them, for sure.
Yeah, great.
Plus, they're not allowed to play on their fields till 2026 at the new fields, so we have to maintain those two for the season.
Any further questions or comments for the service director? Right, thank you, Dave. Both the building commissioner and the recreation director are excused. So we'll move on to, I'll now open the floor for audience participation. If anyone would like to address Wickliffe City Council, please stand, state your name and address for the clerk's record. These meetings are being recorded, and she has a microphone that has to be used. Each person will have a 5-minute max amount of time. Would anyone like to address Wickliffe City Council? Yes, sir. Could we get the microphone?
Yes, Earl Goldberg, 286040 Shiva Lane, Wickliffe, Ohio 44092.
Go ahead.
I went through planning to change zoning on a lot at 2688 Bishop. I'm trying to get through the process of the change of the zoning from institutional to IR 75. I'd like to know if that's what we're here for. If it's possible to get the zoning changed.
Yeah, we still have to have a public hearing. Council has to select a public hearing, which I'm gonna call for later on this meeting on April 9th. And then after that, then we can put it on to 3 readings, which is what our ordinance says. So I'm definitely calling for the public hearing, our portion of that next month, as soon as, the earliest we can do it. And then from then on, we'll do the 3 readings if what I think council recommends. So that's the earliest we can do it based on the charter amendment that we had created and passed.
So April 9th is going to be
The next meeting we're gonna have, I'm gonna call for it later on this meeting for April 9th.
April 9th. And
That's
then-
our theory, that's our portion, and then it has to be read 3 readings at next 3 council meetings, it has to be read and passed by council after that, so you're talking by the end of May, you could be confirmed to go ahead and change that.
Is there such a thing as a special meeting, or?
I believe these had to be read, they had to be read 3 separate times with a certain amount of time in between each one.
14 days between.
So there is no special meetings we have in between those,
Okay.
sorry,
All right.
thank you. Would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council?
Hi, I'm Dan Tomeyer, 29232 Ridge Road. As many in the room may know and may not know, I'm the board president for the school board of Wickliffe. I wanted to come tonight and just, I appreciate the council and the mayor and everyone listening. And I want to keep you guys informed, guys and gals. We're going to have a 7.2 mil operating levy on the ballot. It's issue 6 on Tuesday, the 6th of May. And our goal, I have committee members here, as well as Vice President Katie Ball is here, and Josh Javens and Matt Borovic are our committee members for the levy. We want to maintain as much transparency with the public as we can, all transparent, actually. My purpose tonight is to inform and provide information to both the council and the audience. I know that in past talking with council people and or the mayor, that sometimes the community mixes up the school board and the council. They come to you about school board stuff, they come to me about council stuff. So at the end of this, I'm going to provide you some information so that when you guys get questions and your own personal vote, for the levy, I hope, that you'll have information that you can make a better, more informed decision. Also at the end, if any audience members would like any information, or any members of the administration that live in Wickliffe, I'll provide you with that information as well. Just a few things. I'd like to give you a bit of a background. The district last asked and passed an operating levy. This is an operating levy. It's not a bond issue. It's not a capital improvement levy. In 2015, that was 10 years ago, we indicated at the time it would last about 4 to 5 years. It's lasted 10 years. School districts are highly dependent on property taxes. The state funding that we get, the state average for school districts is 38%. WIC at this present time gets 28%. We lag 10% in relation to the average of school districts in the state of Ohio. The state considers Wickliffe, and you probably, those who know me and have talked to me before, the state considers our community to be a wealthy school district. It's a function of total property values divided by the number of students. We have a smaller school district, or smaller population of kids. That's the bottom number. When you divide it by a bigger number of the property appraised values, then you get a high number. We all know that we have a lot of nice homes and a lot of nice people in this city, but I don't think that we could call ourselves a real wealthy school district. The governor, the Senate, and the House they're going to be working in the next several months on their biennial budget, which hopefully they would pass by the 30th of June of 2025. At present, with information that's been provided to our treasurer and our superintendent, as well as things I've read in the paper and the governor's initial budget, it does appear to be that funding is going to be decreased to public schools. I hope not. There's a lot of people lobbying for that not to happen. There's a thing called House Bill 920. If you're not familiar with it, it was passed decades ago. And what it really provides for is that there's no inflation when we pass levies. So we do have levies that are on the docket. When we pass levies, there is no adjustment for inflation on any of the levies that have ever been approved that are still on the docket. Therefore, what happens then, our last levy in 2015 was 7.9 mils. Right now it's drawing in 4.8 mils worth of money because there's no adjustment for inflation. Over the last 4 or 5 years, the district has made efforts to produce cost savings on the spending side. We've instituted reductions in staffing, and we've outsourced departments. And overall, this has resulted in well over $500,000 a year in savings. The levy itself, 7.2 mils. That on the ballot, it will read $252 a year for a $100,000 home. We like to turn it into that's equal to $21 a month. The average Wickliffe home at this time is about $180,000, so it would cost that person probably over $35 a month. The actual tax is based on 35% of the appraised value. You're not taxed on the full value of your home, so a $100,000 home is actually taxed on $35,000. The levy millage was chosen so that the district can simply maintain the educational programs that we currently have. And what we provide, we have no intentions of asking for more money for bigger and better things. We just want to be able to educate our children and be able to them to have the things that they have as it stands now. Status quo, I guess you could say. But again, inflation has caused our expenses to outweigh our revenues. The homestead exemption, for those that are senior citizens, 65 years and older, they could contact the Lake County Auditor's Office to possibly obtain relief on how their home would be taxed. The bond issue, there seems to be online a lot of things being said. There's a lot of things being said online. It's one of the reasons why we're here tonight. That was passed in 2019. That bond issue was strictly used to build the new campus, everything you see up at the old high school property. We cannot use any of that money for operating, nor is there really any left to do so. It doesn't provide any money for our daily operations, none. In closing, by state law, we have to balance our budget. Based on our current 5-year projection, without the levy passage, we would incur very severe issues at the end of the 2026-2027 school year, which ends on June 30th, 2027. I'm asking the council, as leaders, co-leaders of this community, and I'm asking audience members, both here and on TV, and anybody over time who's willing to listen, to please learn more about the facts of the levy, so you can be more informed on the election day. You're welcome to go to our website, or contact board members, levy committee members, and superintendent or the treasurer, to gain more facts. The website is not yet on the material that I'm about to give you. We've been trying to fine tune some stuff, and another thing about frequently asked questions is we're going to be adding to it, and so we're fixing it. But the website, pretty simple. Please go there and look. supportwicklifeschools.com, and we're looking for volunteers, for passing out literature, for making contributions, because we have to pay for literature, pay for mailings, pay for signs, and all that other stuff. And most importantly, I wish you would please just look everything over and vote for the passage of the levy. I think it's critical for our community. I truly believe that if it failed and continued to fail, all the progress that you as a city and we as a school district together have made with building a new campus, having new homes down on our old properties, having what's going on down there by Marinos, having hopefully what's going on down there by Premier. We want young families to move into our community. Whether it's young families that move into the houses that other people in the community might move into these new houses, or just moving right into the new houses. And if we don't have good schools, and it's going around that we're failing levies and not passing, not having the funds that we need to operate and have good educational programs, it's going to hurt the city. And so it hurts, not just the board and the schools themselves, it hurts the city as well. I'm going to ask Katie to distribute to each council member and the mayor just some information that we have now. This is now information. It's not really, some of it's not really going to change over time. It's a frequently asked question sheet. It's a board letter dated 2/26/25 that went to the parents and the staff and the community. And it's also a letter from our co-chair, Josh, that he wrote to the community, and it's on our website. Again, the website is supportwicklifeschools.com. I would ask you that if any, now especially the council members and the mayor, if people in the community now come to you with questions, you at least have some information that you can begin to answer them without maybe calling us on the phone. As well as on a personal level, I wish you would seriously consider how important it is that you would vote for this issue. Lastly, I mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of stuff. I don't do Facebook. I don't do social media. I don't see it. I hear about it. There's a lot of stuff being said. I guess We Heart Wickliffe is a real joy. Sorry if you use it. And there's a lot of, I don't like saying misinformation, but there is a lot. People just seem to be able to write whatever they want, and they don't have the facts. And frankly, that's pretty much why I'm here tonight and why we're here tonight. We want to provide you guys and gals with some facts so that you can make a good decision, and that you can also be able to answer questions for people in the public when they mix you up for us. So again, supportwicklifeschools.com, and thank you everybody for your time. And anyone on the administration, if you live in Wickliffe, I'd be welcome to give you, and anybody in the audience, I brought extra copies of the information that we're submitting to the council and the mayor. Thank you. I appreciate your time a lot.
Would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council?
Hello, my name is Neil Harrison, 29948 Regent Road. Quite germane topic. I was coming to let you all know that there's a group that plans to have a meeting on Thursday at 6 p.m. in the Wickliffe Library regarding the levy. If any of your constituents have any questions or have similar questions, I'd ask you to please provide them the information about the meeting, which is also online. Once again, that's 6 p.m. on Thursday in the Wickliffe Library Meeting Room 2. As was previously stated, there are a lot of questions. I know as a father of a young family, I have lots of questions, particularly why the vote is being done in a May election, why we're voting on a levy before we know that we have a deficit, when apparently we have a year. So I'm just hoping that as you are able to share the school's information, you'd be willing to also share the information of the meeting so that people who may have a different opinion are also being informed by you all. So thank you.
Councilman Dillon? Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is softball. So, the previous levy in 2015, it was kind of talked about it would last 5 years, and it went 10. Are we? Is that kind of the feeling this time again, or are there other levies? Do we have levies that will go off over time, or all our levies permanent levies? So
I can't totally answer that question.
Go ahead, John.
So,
Josh, can you state your name and address before you answer it?
what's that?
Can you state your name and address
Yeah,
before
my
you?
name is Josh Javens, 822 Gordon Road.
Yes,
Okay. So any levy that gets put on the ballot is continuing, so it's forever.
okay.
But as Mr. Tomeyer said, they do not adjust for inflation. So the 7.9 mil levy that was put on in 2015 for $2.1 million, specific dollar amount, still only brings in $2.1 million. It does not adjust over time.
Basically, I just wanted to be able to say, if somebody asked me, like, well, they're gonna be coming back every year, you know, that kind of statement, like I could say, oh, no, this is gonna be good for another 5, 10 years. We don't
I can
know.
address
I
that.
know it's, you know.
I can address that.
Yeah.
Okay, very simply, this is ironic, if you don't know it, I don't know what the city's requirements are. We're required to have a rolling 5-year plan. Okay? So it's hard for me to answer your question, and this is why. We're required to have a rolling 5-year plan every year. Now, the state passes a budget every 2 years. So when we first pass a budget, like now, we'll have 2 years' worth of what our revenue stream would be from the state. We're missing 3, right? Because we have a 5-year plan. When we move forward to the next year, we only have 1 year to the next biennium budget. We're missing 4. So I would never stand here and promise you how long it'll last. We hope 4 to 6, maybe 7 years. But I want to be conservative and say 5-ish, hopefully. It's hard for us to do that if in fact the state continued to cut funding and or the federal. Our federal funding is not huge, no district is, but would you want to add anything to that?
Oh, that's fine, thank you.
The other thing is the gentleman mentioned about why would we ask for it now? It's in this information if you would like it. And we have to ask now because when we start to project these deficits, you got to stay ahead of it. It's as simple as that. If we ask for it in 2027, it'll be too late because there's a lag in the payment of property taxes. And why are we doing it in May? We're doing it in May for that same reason, is we need to get ahead of it.
Right, November wouldn't be in time.
Councilman Jaworski?
Dan, if I may, sorry. Any rough guess on how much money the state has taken away from the schools in the last decade or so?
I can tell you that they took away the tangible personal property tax, and that's why we asked the community for the 2015 levy. That $2.1 million that Mr. Javens mentioned was simply to make up for that. Now, that was phased out over the period of a couple of years. Don't quote me, I can't quote myself. So many things happen all the time. But that was phased out. Really what we're facing now is, look, I don't want to tax you, and neither does the board. On behalf of the board, I don't want to tax you. I don't want to tax me. But the fact of the matter is, every home has incurred inflation badly. We all know that. I'm not going to hide from that. And so is the school district. And in the meantime, our revenues have no adjustment for inflation. Our expenses on our 5-year forecast have caused us that we are deficit spending. And I don't want to go into great detail about that. When you first pass a levy, you're not deficit spending because it goes up so quickly, and then over time it just comes down on that graph. So it's tough. It's tough times, and again, this is not something we take pride in doing. This is about our community. I'm now 65 years old. I got 2 grandkids coming up to go to the schools. It's about the future, and it's about Wickliffe, and I hope and pray that people can be open-minded and not listen to all the things that are being said that are not true at all, half true, mostly true, but not accurate. Anybody else? Thanks again for your time.
Would anybody else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council? If not, we'll mark audience participation closed. Committee reports? Commission reports. Councilman Jaworski.
The Planning Commission met March 6th at 7 p.m. and they approved a request for a parking lot plan for approval to build a new industrial building at 29200 Lakeland Boulevard in an industrial district. Stanley Steamer will be moving from its current location down to the other side of Lakeland Boulevard. The Planning Commission also approved the notice. We technically had a notice for a public hearing for Telshe Yeshiva for change of zoning located at 2688 Bishop Road in an IR district to R175, as Mr. Goldberg had said, and I believe that is going to be new business A on the agenda. Also, the Architectural Review Board met after that meeting and approved the request to construct a new building for Stanley Steamer as well.
Any other commission reports? Old business A, 2025, ordinance 2025-04. Councilman Thielman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. Last couple meetings ago, when this came up on the agenda, we had a brief discussion regarding the ordinance, and a couple members of council expressed that they felt the 4 years was too long of a clawback period, and I believe maybe 3 of us voted against it in kind of committee to proceed. Tonight it's on third and final reading, but I'd like to propose an amendment to change it from 4 years to 2 years. So 0 to 1 year at 100%, and then 50% for year 2, through year 2, and no reimbursement after 2 years of service. And I'll make a motion, I think, in committee. Can I do that? Or in this portion to amend it?
We have to amend it at the actual reading, maybe not the third reading, and put it back on the first or second
Yeah,
reading.
we have to do either, this is a few things you could do, a motion to amend it, still vote, and then vote on it as amended, or a motion to table it if you wanted to discuss it and take it off of the voting and not vote on it tonight. And if that motion doesn't pass, then we vote on it as it is. Then obviously if it passes, it could still be amended later, if it could get reintroduced, or if it fails, it could also be reintroduced later differently. So motion to table,
This would be as
motion to amend.
I completely understand I don't know if we wanna discuss it and then do the motion, or do we wanna take a motion and to amend it? I guess, I have a differing opinion on the longevity of this contract, so do we want,
It could fall flat, I mean, just make a motion.
would it just be a motion to modify ordinance 2025-04 before we even read 2025-04?
Yeah, you could do the motion before,
Like,
or you could do the motion during the discussion period.
you can put a motion to amend the ordinance, the motion just to possibly amend it. If it passes, then we can amend the actual ordinance in its third reading, correct?
Right.
Okay, so you have a motion to,
Yeah, I'd like to amend ordinance number 2025-04. Basically, in section 1B1, striking the 4 years and making that 2 years. And then in section 1B2, kind of the box area, it doesn't have a designation. 0 to 1 year would be 100% of the agreed upon amount. Over 1 year, but less than 2 years, is 50% of the agreed upon amount. All the other ones are striped, other than the final line where it then says more than 2 years, no reimbursement required, as written.
Second that.
moved by Councilman Thielman, seconded by Councilman Sloto to amend ordinance 2025-04 to reduce the number of years needed for full reimbursement on a, I believe we call it an officer training payment, from 4 years to 2 years overall. Discussion? Councilman Thielman.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I believe this is inconsequential in the first place because we voted against it, now we're bringing it back and voting for it, but some are voting against, so I'm just looking for a compromise and saying, okay, we'll go halfway, we'll meet halfway on it, and we'll probably get a unanimous consent. I hope.
As part of my discussion, I would say I'm not for it. If I was to go get a master's degree at my company, I would have to sign a 3-year contract to stay with the company after I graduate.
Well,
So they're also getting trained for 6 months. We're paying them, paying for vehicles, paying for everything to be trained for 6 months, plus 3 years after they finish the program. That's 3.5 years of paying the officer based on his training. So that's how I would read it. Like if we're reimbursing them for their training, you got to stay X amount of years. Master's degree at a Fortune 500 company, it's 3 years after you get your master's degree. So I don't understand why we're limiting down to 2. Councilwoman Sloto.
This is not a master's degree, first of all. Second of all, you know, we have a competitive landscape here too. And so we want to attract good officers. And competitively, I think that puts us at a disadvantage to put a 4-year stipulation about coming. So I think 2 years is a great compromise. Yes, I believe there should be some sort of staying, you know, bottom line, 2 years I think is much more reasonable than 4 years. And I think it will not be as much of a deterrent for a good officer to choose us versus somebody else.
Councilwoman Kowski.
I think the council members that are against this forget that the police chief is in favor of this, and I think that he knows more than the rest of you on this. He just lost someone because we did not vote for this when it was initially brought up, and I think that we should follow the advice of the police chief who is in favor of it because he knows more than the rest of us.
Councilwoman Sloto.
But if you will recall, our chief was against this previously, and that was for the same reasons that I mentioned, that competitively it doesn't put us in a good light. So I think he also was, you know, we were burned by someone, and so I know that stings and it hurts and it's very disrupting. But at the same time, again, I think this is a good compromise, putting some, you know, some longevity in the game, but not so much that it will be a deterrent.
Councilman Gardston. I think everybody needs to remember that this came on, and then when we hire a gentleman to come on here, he goes on the payroll. He comes to the city every day, picks up a city car. He drives to college on a city car paid for by the residents. He's paid on the clock to sit in school for 6 months by the residents. So when the chief asked for this to come back on exactly the way it was, because the residents had paid for a gentleman to get 6 months in school with a city car to go to school every day. This wasn't, the chief said, okay, I agree with you now that we got burned, and I'd like that to be put back on so we don't have the residents paying for a gentleman to sit in school for 6 months with a city car to drive back and forth to school every day. So I agree with the chief that the chief asked for it to come back on the way it was written before. And I agree with that if the chief wants it written this way, this is the way we'll vote for it. And this is the way I'm voting for it, because this is the way the chief asked for it to come back on. Councilman Bill.
How many times did this happen?
This was the first time.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Jaworski.
And this is only for OPATA itself. The other ways do not apply to this.
Well,
That's
yeah,
correct.
for an outside academy,
Yes.
not for
Yes.
OSP.
Thank you.
Yeah, because OSP doesn't charge us for it. And you can't recoup the wages. I mean, we worked.
Councilman Thielman.
Yeah, well, it sounds, Jim, great and dandy that we're saying, oh, we paid him to drive and we're getting this money. We're getting none of that back. We're getting $4,000 back, right? That's
Between $4,000 and $5,000
Yeah.
is the cost of
That's what we're trying to claw back.
Right.
And we're gonna hang that over somebody's head for an entire 4 years. I don't get it. That's not a master's education. That's, there's a big difference. And so there's no clawback of salary, there's no clawback of mileage, there's no clawback of use of cars. This is the cost of the class, right?
Right.
So that's all I'm asking. If you don't wanna do it, don't do it. There's a motion, let's vote on it.
Understandable that this is not the exact same as a master's, but our first 5-year police officer gets paid very similar to somebody that's got about a master's degree. Somebody coming out with a bachelor's degree does not make as much as some of our officers. So that's why I say it's master's, right? So people coming out of college right now with a bachelor's degree do not make as much as our first 4-year officers here. That's why I said that. Councilman Jaworski.
I'll take it a step farther. It's somewhat similar if you look at what the building trades do with their registered apprenticeship programs, where they have clawbacks as well, and those are usually 4 or 5 year programs.
Any further discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Ballot.
So hold on, I got a question. So what we're voting on now is the amended?
Amended.
To amend it, down to 2 years.
Yes.
Sorry, Gerhardstein.
No.
Jaworski.
No.
Kosky.
No.
Levon.
No?
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Motion fails. Moving on, new business, Planning Commission recommendation letter. March 6, 2025, a letter was written to myself as part of council, dear Council President Levon, per the requirements of section 1341 of the city ordinance, the Wickliffe Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on Thursday, March 6, 2025 at Wickliffe City Hall. The purpose of the hearing pertained to public discussions of a proposed zoning change for institutional recreational to R175 requested by Mr. Goldberg of the Rabbinical College of Tel Yeshiva. The subject parcel is associated with an address listed as 2588 Bishop Road in Wickliffe, Ohio. It's further described as follows: parcel number 29801 0000120. This requested change was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Wickliffe Planning Commission and is referred to Wickliffe City Council for your consideration and appropriate action. Sincerely, Patrick McGraw, the Wickliffe Planning Commission Chairman. I will announce a call for a public hearing for April 9th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in here in Council Chambers to discuss for an open public hearing on this said topic of parcel 29801 0000120 being changed from institutional recreational to R1-75. Okay, then move on to ordinances.
Ordinance number 2025-02 amended. This is the third reading. An ordinance accepting a highway easement granted by 28825 Euclid Avenue LLC unto the city of Wickliffe, Ohio as to a portion of the property located at 22825 Euclid Avenue in said city.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bella, seconded by Councilman Saloto to adopt ordinance 2025-02 amended. Discussion, Councilman Gerhardstein.
I was not available at the time when this was in committee, but I'd like to say that I don't think in any way should the residents be paying to have any part of private property plowed or salted at the expense of the residents. That's all.
Councilman Bella.
For the cost of this is minimal compared to what these companies are putting into our city and paying income tax. For us to take over the street, you know, after they improve it, for salting, what's it gonna cost? How much is salt? $50 a ton? Okay, whatever.
49.
Okay, 49, okay, got me. What's it gonna take the rest of the year? A year, a ton? So it's $50, $100 for a guy to go down there for 10 minutes and come back up and salt it, and it's a safety issue too. I think just because the investment for these companies is well worth, you know, us doing that.
Councilwoman Koski.
I'm not convinced that the citizens would be plowed prior to that street getting plowed. I'm not in favor of it.
Mayor.
Yeah, so this part, a few months, I'd say maybe 4 months where it snows, when it does snow, if we have a bad winter, if we don't, it's something that'll take 5 minutes. You know, when they do the route for the hills, and again, kind of a safety issue, they came to us, asked for something like this where we would, you know, dedicate the street, which we're not doing that, don't gotta upkeep the street, but the city is called upon several times to go on private property and help Mount Carmel Church, INA Club, Borromeo, so many places to use city services for help with things, and we do it. And this is no different than that. It is a private business, but it's also a road down there that, from what our previous service director said, should have been dedicated from the beginning. So it was just something to help out with the 5-minute pass, not even, for salt and plow. But I just wanna say the city does come to help other things. It ain't just this one person. There's other entities that we help, Wickliffe Forever, and there's other areas that the city does, the residents pay for that.
Councilman Gerhardstein.
Well, I'm just trying to say is that I don't believe that the business is down there. I don't know where this is, idea of public safety, there's 2 businesses down there. 3. Okay, 3 businesses down there. I think this opens Pandora's box to when is this gonna stop? What happens, you have new developments coming in and the city's growing. What if the next development, the townhouses come in or the apartment building comes in and we're gonna judge this on economical development? When it comes in and you're gonna say, we're not gonna salt you or we're not gonna plow that? There's been 25 years that driveway's been plowed and salted by whoever's owned it and the companies that are down there. It shouldn't change because one company comes in and all of a sudden we're saying this is public safety. We have plenty of streets here that during a snowstorm aren't plowed and salted within hours of the storm, and they're on the hill, and you just said they're gonna be on the hills, which means they'll be plowed and salted before resident streets. It's private property, they should take care of their own driveway and plow and salt their own driveway.
I didn't say before.
You said they'll be on the
No,
hill.
I'll be on the hill route where.
On the hill route gets plowed and salted before the side streets.
But one of the stipulations was the residents would not be neglected, that would be last.
For
Before
25 years, the
anybody's
people that have owned that have taken care of it.
Understood, I'm just saying, you're saying that the city shouldn't be spent, the city does and has done that, so it's nothing no different from anything else, that's all the point I was making.
Councilwoman Koski.
So, I find it amusing that the mayor says it takes 5 minutes and Jim says it takes 10 minutes to do it, and snowfall earlier this year was a Friday, it was a weekday when people need to go to work, and my street, which is a hill, which is normally one of the ones that's done first, it was 11 o'clock in the morning and my street still was not done, and I had to contact the mayor and, you know, I don't know. I'm not convinced. If my street wasn't done then, and it wasn't, you know, part of that street wasn't on the mix, when that street is part of the mix, you know, is it gonna take even longer for the resident streets to get finished plowing? So, again, I'm not in favor of it. This may take 5 or 10 minutes, but
Councilwoman Sloto.
First of all, we have amazing snow removal. You guys do a phenomenal job, and I have never, I don't think it's fair to say that you waited till 11 o'clock.
I
mean,
did
that was-
wait till 11
Jerry,
o'clock,
Jerry.
Maria!
I understand that maybe you did, but it was a pretty substantial snowfall, or that probably, you know, wouldn't have happened. It doesn't normally happen. And I think they do a great job of getting places faster than any other city that I've ever come across, and this is certainly not in this area. You guys are the best, and we're known for that, and I appreciate that. And I understand that this is just a sticking point for you guys, and I get that, and it is private property, I understand. But it is, you know, an important economic development for us, because it's tremendous that we now have, you know, a really tremendous business going back into that area. And I think that was just part of what we were, you know, hoping with goodwill to offer. If they came and asked, it was, you know, all just part of the newness of it, and I don't think it's out of line. But again, I have a problem with, you know, comparing that the residents are somehow gonna suffer because of this, because that is not the case. That would never happen. And, you know, this is just something that would just, I think, be an offer of goodwill for just a really tremendous new opportunity to come to the city, that's all.
Councilman Thielman.
Yeah, I agree with Maria. Nick Mayer came here, spoke one evening, so excited about bringing his business here. Talked about possibly having us take over that street, dedicating the street. I don't know, this is kind of a compromise in the sense that they'll repair it and improve it, we'll plow it. And I wanted to tie it to economic development. You know, the mayor is our chief executive officer, and he's in charge of economic development. And he's working hard to bring businesses in. And, you know, how you treat people and businesses and private business owners goes a long, long way down the line. And I think the mayor deserves some latitude to be able to ask for this, and I'm in favor of it.
Mayor.
I just want to say one thing to Councilwoman Koski. The snowstorms were kind of crazy this year. I will say no excuse, but however, residents have no issue whatsoever calling me to complain. I get complaints multiple, daily, weekly. They have no issue. I got one complaint all the snowstorms over the past couple months. I got one complaint. And that's it. So I don't think the residents are being neglected whatsoever.
Councilman Bailey.
Plus, there's a route that, you know, our city workers take on the, you know, they do the main roads, they do the hills first. You know, sure, you live on a cul-de-sac, that's probably one of the last streets that get done. I
No,
live
it's
on a
not,
cul-de-sac.
it's a hill.
What hill do you live on?
Well,
I have no idea.
it'd have to be the service
It's a
department.
cul-de-sac, you live on a.
It'd be up to the service department to determine whether it's a hill or a cul-de-sac, right?
Well, there's a
Whatever
circle
route
in
it's
the
on,
street.
whatever route it's on.
Okay, but I'm saying is, again, minimal complaints even from my people. Again, they always do a great job. Again, we always hear from years past, everything that Whipple's not a good business, like in community, you know, we're not friendly to businesses, and here's just another, you know, I don't know, another thing that put a black eye to us. But I think, you know, again, millions of dollars, and we can't spend, I don't know, $500 on it.
Any further discussion on the adoption? Sandy, please call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstadt.
No.
Jaworski.
No.
Kosky.
Nope.
Levon.
No.
Saludo.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Ordinance fails.
Ordinance number 2025-04, An ordinance enacting chapter 149.06 officer training payment and reimbursement of the codified ordinances of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio. This is the third reading.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilman Jaworski to adopt ordinance 2025-04 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bailiff.
I'm sorry, what ordinance was this? I'm sorry.
It's 2025-04, it's the police
Oh,
one.
the training? No.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes,
Saloto.
No.
Thielman.
No.
ordinance passes.
Ordinance number 2025-07 amended. This is the second reading. An ordinance providing appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures in the city of Wickliffe, Ohio for the period beginning January 1st, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025. Ordinance number 2025-08. This is the second reading. An ordinance providing for the compensation of appointed officials of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance. Ordinance number 2025-09, an ordinance providing, this is the second reading, an ordinance providing for the compensation of certain salaried and hourly employees of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance. Ordinance number 2025-10, an ordinance providing for the compensation of certain employees of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance. Ordinance number 2025-11 amended. This is the second reading. An ordinance providing for the compensation and other employment provisions for part-time firefighters, of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance. Ordinance number 2025-12. This is the second reading. An ordinance providing for the compensation and other employment provisions for special police officers of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance. Ordinance number 2025-13. This is the second reading. An ordinance providing for the compensation and other employment provisions for the part-time public safety dispatchers of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance.
Seeing no resolutions, move on to other legislation. Miscellaneous. Nothing, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilman Thielman to adjourn the meeting. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bailiff.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski. Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Levon also votes yes, too,
Oh,
please.
sorry,
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.